Alright guys, we're back on the water, and in today's video I want to show you 3 different rigs, 3 different ways that I typically target these offshore crappie in structure. So let's get into it. So this first rig is a small little crappie jigging rap, and what this is going to do is you're going to get that down there pretty quick, and you're actually going to be popping it back and forth, and this thing literally dances. I don't know if you can see this little glide wing on the back, but it allows it to glide. Man, I got a giant spider web on me. That's disgusting. I can't stand spiders. But it's got this wing on it, and it kind of allows it to kind of glide in the water. And what I do with that is I actually pop it, and it allows it to kind of shoot back and forth dancing. And it really lets you know, especially with your forward-facing sonar, the mood of these fish. So the first thing that I do is that I'll put this down there and I'll leave it over that brush pile, and I'll just have it dance. And a lot of the times as that thing is coming down, you'll actually see it kind of glide a little bit. Those fish, if they're super active, man, they're coming up 100 miles an hour for it. And you know, that's what I'll typically do. And once they turn off, I'll switch to something else. And we just pulled up to a beautiful tree, and we're going to go ahead and put it to the test. Here it is right here. As you can see, this piece of structure right here, it's a tree laid down, and there's tons of crappie right here related to that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take that little jigging rap and go right up over the top, dancing it, just to see if maybe we can draw something out. Trying to figure out their mood. Are they heavily feeding? You can see right here on the 360 too. Here's the tree, all the shadows of the tree branches and stuff right there, and then right there you can see it's absolutely loaded right there with some fish. That return that kind of looks like a bait ball inside of a tree is usually what we're looking for. So let's go ahead and put this to the test. All right, so we're right over it now, and we're just going to start dancing it. We got a couple followers. I'm going to put it down there on that tree. That's actually a tree laid all the way down. So I'm going to just get it as close as I can to the bottom right there, and I'm going to just keep it right on there, and I'm going to just dance it around that. Back to the boat. All right, let's give it one more toss. So this is what it looks like in the water. I don't know if you'll be able to see it when you pop it. See how it kind of dances and it darts back and forth, just very erratic. And that's what I do with it when I get it down there over top of that tree, just to see how active they are. But that's what it kind of looks like. It just darts back and forth with that little tail. It's very good for different fish too, when you get in some really good schools. All right, so we just went over top of it again. I seen something dart out here. They're darting out over it, so I'm just popping it back and forth. Something's chasing it right now. Still chasing it. He was chasing it. All right, so let's do one more cast. All right at 35. So we're going to get it down there. Can't really see it. There it goes. Now we're dancing it right over top. They're coming to chase it. And it may be a little big. This is a 1/4 ounce. And I mean, it's not overly huge with the bait that I typically use. So I usually use a 1/8 ounce. And right here, as you can see, I use this little dirty bait slayer, so it's not overly huge. It's just a little bit heavier to get down there. This hook looks a little intimidating. super huge compared to that one right there. I'm not really sure what size it is, but we could definitely go to the 8th to try that. And I usually put it on braided line because you keep it over the top of them and it's more like a reaction strike. It's not, you know, anything finessey. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to that Slayer. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use that 1/8 ounce jig head with that Dirty Bait Slayer on there. And that Slayer and that Ghost Pearl color is by far one of my favorites. And I'll link everything down below to where you guys can go check his site out. But that Slayer right there is just insane. Catches all my giant slabs. All right, so we're back up at the front. We see the structure. Now we're going to take this jig. We're going to chuck it out just a little bit further. We saw it about 40. It's flickering down. Flickering down. I'm not really seeing it, but that's okay. I know it's going to be somewhere in that strike zone. And I'm going to just slowly retrieve this with just a small little shake in my wrist to try to get. Here he comes right now. Here he comes. 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 Oh, they turned off on it. Guys, I didn't even get it down low enough. I thought I had it low enough. I didn't even see it. But they came up. They literally came up 10, what was it? 5, 10, 7 feet. They came up 7 feet for it, and I wasn't even all the way down there. So there it is at 30. Flashing down, flashing down, flashing down. We're about to be over top of it. All right, we should be kind of, oh, almost. So now I start to see them being a little active. They're checking it out. They're checking it out. There it was. There it was. There it was. Guys, we tried the Jigging Rap. Now that's nothing to brag about, but hey, we caught a fish. That may be a keeper. I'm not sure. It's got to be over 9 inches. But we went to that jig head with that Slayer and slowly allowed that bait to come into that strike zone, and we kind of kept it right above them, not really above them, but kind of right up at the top of them, and we were shaking that little tail just like this. We were not reeling. We were allowing that bait to pendulum back, and all I was doing, you can't even see this, it's so subtle, but if I come back here, watch this bait, it is dancing like crazy, and you can't even see my hand moving. But that joker right there will move like crazy with the slightest little shake, and those crappie cannot stand it. So let's get to the next rig that I will use. Now, a lot of the times if they don't bite this, I'm out of there, but sometimes I'll go, they don't bite, and I see tons of them. I go to another spot, they don't bite. I go to another spot and they don't bite, and I'm like, is it going to be like a timing thing? You know, I tried the Jigging Rap, I tried my favorite bait that catches everything, and they won't bite it, they'll just chase it. So the next rig that I'll use is the slip cork. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So this is the slip cork rig. If you're not sure how to do a slip cork rig, you really need to look it up. I'm not gonna sit here and talk about it and how to kind of rig it, but this is what it looks like. So I have braid, I have the slip cork, as you can see, it slides up and down. I have a swivel with maybe 6 pound line, maybe 4. I wanna say it's probably 6, it feels a little thick. I got a little split shot, and then a super small, this is probably a 1/16, maybe a 1/32 ounce jig head with a Slayer on it. So what this is going to do, and guys, I absolutely hate reverting to this, but I'm telling you right now, it absolutely works, and we're going to try it out here right now. But they're hitting the jig, so they're probably going to hit this. But what this does is, back there we saw how kind of deep they are. So let's see where it is. Let me try to let it out. Right here is a little piece of thread, and you adjust the height of that. So if you want this bait to kind of fall down to that 10 foot or that 15 foot range, you kind of guesstimate how far 15 foot is, and then you put this little, thanks helicopter. So if you put this at 15, when you make that cast, that bait is going to start sinking down, that bobber is going to slide all the way up, and it's going to stop when it hits that tie right there at that 15 foot mark. And this bait is just going to be just like this, hopefully straight up and down, hopefully straight up and down. And it is going to just dance and be in that strike zone. And sometimes they cannot resist that and they'll come and smoke it. And there's no action to it. Sometimes these little waves or the wind will put a little bit of action into it to where, you know, those crappie can't stand it being in their area. Let's go ahead and put this to the test. And like I said, I'm pretty sure they're probably going to smoke it just because they hit that jig. If this is sitting by them, they're going to hit this dude. All right, so there they are. They're still there. And it looks like they're in 15, maybe 20 if you look across. Like sometimes I'll put my rod up here. Yeah, they're in that 20. You look right there, 20, come straight across, they're in that 20. So we'll go ahead and drop this down just a little bit. And I'm gonna slide this up just a little bit more. All right, so I'm gonna toss this out there. Hopefully we can get it out there about 30. That ought to be it right there. See that splash? And that bait should go right down. So I see the little ribbon right there. It's getting close to the bobber. And like I said, once it gets close to the bobber, it's going to stop. And that bait is just going to be floating in that 15 to 20 foot range. All right, so here it comes right now. We're gonna watch that bobber. There it is. We got him. We got him. We got him. Boom. And that's a decent one. Right there. Guys, that ain't no giant. But a lot of times when you got a school like that, all those little ones are going to come up and just try to, you know, get your bait before all the other ones. A lot of the times I like finding structure that has a really good return, but there's not as many, because a lot of the times your better crappie are not going to be in large schools like that. They'll be in, you know, smaller schools, if that makes any sense. But guys, this is what I do right here. This is very deadly, but like I said, I hate going to it because a lot of the times they don't hit it that quick. They will not hit it that quick. And like I said, I pull this out when I go to all these spots. And like I said, I'll hit 6, 7, 8, maybe even 10, maybe even more of these spots that are loaded just like this. And they will not bite that jig head. Not this one, but the 1/8 ounce one with the little dirty bait slayer on it. And they either follow it back to the bow, just nipping the tail. And I'm just like, man. But this right here is a very slow way of fishing. And like that right there, I didn't work anything. I threw it out there. It got down into that strike zone. And like I said, I got it at, the fish are probably right at that 20, 22 foot. But even before it even got to that range right there, they came up and bit it. I saw them coming up like that, so I stopped it and then, you know, set that hook when I saw that bobber go down. But this is a very slow way of catching them. It's almost like you're bank fishing and you're trying to catch brim with a bobber, and you just throw a worm out there and you just eating your snack or talking to a friend or, you know, drinking a soda, and you're just watching your cork and it just doop. All right, there's one. And it's sometimes that slow. But if you have the right bait on, the right weight, and you're in that strike zone, sometimes they'll eat it immediately. So they are the 3 ways that I target this offshore structure. But guys, I always appreciate you coming along. If you have any comments, leave them down below. If you like the video or you think it's going to help you out, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Guys, we just got monetized. We're moving up. We're getting subscribers, and it's very joyful. It makes you feel good. It makes, you know, you feel a certain way, like you're doing something right when people like to follow you and, you know, they tell you had a great video. But yeah, like I said, hit that like button if you enjoyed it or you feel like it's going to help you. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see upcoming videos, and continue to follow Bassn with Buddy, man. And I'll see you next time. Peace.